The bridge of the Vectar warship hummed with quiet confidence. Supreme Commander Thelvok stood before the main display screen, watching the small human colony grow larger as his fleet approached. Behind him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, their movements precise and calm. "How many humans live on this world?" Thelvok asked without turning around. 2.4 million, Commander," his tactical officer replied. "Mostly farmers and miners. Their defense network is old. Very basic technology." Thelvok nodded slowly. He had reviewed the intelligence reports 3 times. Humans were weak. Their ships were slow. Their weapons used simple kinetic rounds instead of proper energy beams. They lived on only a few dozen worlds, scattered and poorly defended. When the Vectar Empire sent its demands for surrender, Thelvok expected an immediate response. Instead, the humans had refused. "Foolish creatures," Thelvok muttered. "Send the final warning. Give them 1 hour to evacuate." Far below on the colony world of Horizon's Edge, alarm screamed through every street. Admiral Han Kang-min stood in his small apartment, watching the news broadcast with steady eyes. His wife grabbed his arm. "The children are at school," she said, her voice shaking. "We need to get them. We need to leave." Han looked at her. He was military, stationed here to train colonial defense forces. He knew the truth. The evacuation ships could not carry everyone. The alien fleet above them was massive. This was not a warning. This was an execution. "Go," he said quietly. "Take the transport to the spaceport. I will get our son and daughter. Meet me at Dock 7. She kissed him once, then ran. Han watched her go, then grabbed his military comm device. He called the school. No answer. He called again. Still nothing. The streets outside were chaos. Thousands of people running, screaming, trying to reach the spaceport. Above the planet, Thelvok checked his timer. 1 hour had passed. "Fire," he commanded. The Vectar plasma cannons glowed bright blue. Beams of superheated energy lanced down through the atmosphere. The first strike hit the capital city's center. Buildings melted like candles. The second strike hit the spaceport. Han's wife had just reached Dock 7 when the world turned white. Han was 5 blocks from the school when the shockwave hit him. He was thrown against a wall. When he opened his eyes, the sky was orange. Everything was burning. He stumbled forward, but the school was gone. Just a crater filled with melted stone. His comm device buzzed. Someone from Earth was calling. Han answered automatically. "Admiral Han, this is Central Command. We are receiving your colony's final transmissions. The voice paused. "We are so sorry." Han said nothing. He stood there as fire rained from the sky. Around him, Horizon's Edge died. 2.4 million people, gone in minutes. On the colony world of New Sol, Captain Lee Bora commanded the defense station. She watched the attack on Horizon's Edge through long-range sensors. Her hands gripped the console edge. "They are coming here next," her tactical officer said. Bora looked at her crew. 32 people. They had 6 defense satellites and a handful of missile batteries. New Sol held 5 million colonists. The evacuation had started, but the Vectar fleet was already entering orbit. "We cannot stop them," her second officer said quietly. "No," Bora agreed, "but we can make them remember us. Load all missiles, target their flagship, and send everything we have learned to Earth. Every scanner reading, every tactical analysis. Make sure humanity knows what killed us." The defense satellites fired first. Missiles streaked toward the Vectar ships. Most were destroyed by point defense. 3 got through. They struck the shields of a Vectar cruiser. The shields flickered but held. Then the Vectar returned fire. Bora's defense station was hit first. The structure shook. Alarm screamed. She stayed at her station, watching her screen until the second blast vaporized everything. New Sol burned next. Then 3 more colonies. In total, 7.3 million humans died in 1 week. On Earth, the United Council gathered in emergency session. The massive chamber was silent. On the screens, videos played. Horizon's Edge, New Sol, cities turning to glass, ships full of refugees torn apart, children running through burning streets. Ambassador Yoon Sora stood to speak. She was old, experienced in diplomacy. Her voice was calm and measured. "We must respond through proper channels," she said. "Contact the Galactic Council. File formal protest. Build a coalition of support. Show the galaxy that the Vectar have violated all laws of war." Dr. Choi Hyun-woo stood next. He was younger, a scientist who studied alien psychology. His hands shook as he held his notes. With respect, Ambassador, formal protests will take months. Years. The Vectar just murdered 7 million civilians. They did this because they think we are weak. Because they believe we will surrender. He paused. We need to show them they are wrong. The council voted. It was not close. Humanity would respond with force. 3 days later, the Vectar Empire broadcast a message across all human channels. Supreme Commander Thelvak appeared on every screen. Humans of Earth, he said, you have witnessed the power of the Vectar Empire. We do not wish to destroy you completely. Surrender now. Accept our rule. Your species will be preserved as workers and servants. Refuse and we will come to your homeworld. You have 3 days to respond. The message ended. For 3 days, humanity sent nothing back. No reply, no negotiation, no surrender. On the 4th day, Earth responded. The message was broadcast on every frequency, in every language known to the galaxy. It was one word. No. Admiral Han Kang-min received his new orders that same day. He was no longer training colonial defense forces. He was given command of the first Retribution Armada. His mission was simple: destroy the Vectar Empire's ability to make war. Completely, permanently. He accepted, without hesitation. Behind him on Earth and Mars, humanity prepared for something the galaxy had never seen. They were building a fleet, building weapons, and they were doing it with one purpose. The Vectar had shown humanity what war meant. Now humanity would show them what it cost. 6 months passed. The galaxy watched and waited. Human ships stopped moving between colonies. Human traders disappeared from alien ports. Human diplomats stopped answering calls. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. Supreme Commander Thelvak sat in his command center on the Vectar homeworld. His officers brought him reports from their spy networks. The humans are building something, his intelligence chief said. Long-range scans detect massive energy readings around their moon and the planet they call Mars, but we cannot get close enough to see details. They have destroyed all our observation drones. Thelvak waved his hand dismissively. Let them build. They are frightened animals hiding in their den. When they see our fleet approaching their homeworld, they will surrender. But war scholar Krentok was not convinced. He spent his days in the archives, studying every piece of information about Earth. What he found disturbed him. Earth's gravity was heavy, much heavier than most worlds. The planet had violent weather, storms that could destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground. The oceans held creatures larger than most starships. The land was filled with predators. Even the microscopic life was deadly. Disease, infection, poison. The galaxy rated planets by how dangerous they were. Most species evolved on safe worlds, rated class 3 or 4. Earth was rated class 12. Only 1% of all known worlds were that lethal. And humanity had not just survived there, they had conquered it. Krentok brought his findings to Thelvak. Commander, I believe we have made a mistake. Humans are more dangerous than we thought. Their planet produced them through constant conflict. They are evolved for war. Thelvak barely looked up from his reports. All species claim their homeworld is harsh, scholar. It means nothing. They have primitive technology. They have small numbers. They will fall like all the others. On Mars, in the massive orbital shipyards, Commander Park Tae-yang walked through the construction bay. Around him, hundreds of ships were taking shape. They were not beautiful. They were not elegant. They were brutal, thick armor plating, multiple redundant systems, massive engines, and weapons. So many weapons. Railguns that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missile batteries loaded with nuclear warheads. Experimental graviton cannons that could tear enemy ships apart. Park stopped beside the largest ship, the UES Indomitable, a dreadnought, the first of its kind. It was 3 kilometers long and bristled with guns. How long until it is ready? Admiral Han Kang-min asked. He had arrived without announcement, as was his way now. Since the massacre, he moved like a ghost. Silent, cold. 2 months, Park replied. The weapon systems are the challenge. We are pushing physics to its limits. Some of these weapons might destroy the ship firing them. Acceptable, Han said. Make them work. The Vectar must learn that attacking us was their greatest mistake. Park nodded. He understood. There was no room for mercy now, only victory. In the training facilities on Earth's moon, Lieutenant Kim Da-eun lay on an operating table. Doctors surrounded her. They were about to install a neural interface directly into her brain. It would connect her mind to her starfighter. She would think, and the ship would respond. The procedure was dangerous. 20% of candidates died during installation. 30% more suffered permanent brain damage. But those who survived became the deadliest pilots in human history. "Are you ready, Lieutenant?" the chief surgeon asked. Da-eun thought of her squadron. All dead. Killed when the Vectar attacked the colony transports. She had watched them die and been unable to help. "Do it," she said. The surgery took 8 hours. When Da-eun woke, the world was different. She could feel things she never felt before. Energy flows, gravitational fields, the position of objects around her without looking. When she climbed into her starfighter for the first time, it felt like putting on a glove. Perfect fit. Perfect control. She named her squadron the Reapers, because that was what they would be. Death coming for the Vectar. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo watched the preparations with growing unease. He had been assigned to the fleet as a specialist in alien psychology. His job was to study how the Vectar thought and find ways to break their will to fight. But as he observed the weapon tests and training exercises, he began to wonder what humanity was becoming. The soldiers showed no mercy in simulations. The weapons were designed to cause maximum destruction. Even the medical procedures pushed human bodies beyond natural limits. He wrote in his personal journal, "We are building something unprecedented. A military force with one purpose, total destruction of the enemy. I hope when this is over, we remember how to be human again." Across the galaxy, the Talvan Confederacy watched with growing concern. Council Speaker Miressa reviewed the intelligence reports. Human military communications were being intercepted. The language used was clinical, cold, efficient. Terms like acceptable losses, scorched earth protocols, no quarter given, total war doctrine. Miressa sent a message to the Vectar Empire. "You have awakened something terrible. Humanity is not like other species. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for survival. And when a species fights for survival, they use any means necessary. You should negotiate peace now, before it is too late." The Vectar response was brief. "The Talvan Confederacy should mind its own affairs. Humanity will surrender within days of our arrival at their homeworld." On Mars, the final ship was completed. Admiral Han Kang-min stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, 347 warships hung in formation, the first Retribution armada. Behind him, Captain Lee Bora had survived the massacre on New Sol by pure chance. She had been in a bunker when the bombardment hit. Now she commanded the flagship. "All ships report ready, Admiral," she said. Han looked at the tactical display. It showed the route to Vectar space. 12 systems, 47 worlds, billions of Vectar citizens. His orders were clear. Destroy their military completely. Make sure they could never threaten anyone again. He thought of his family, his children, his wife, all gone, turned to ash on horizon's edge. "All ships," he said into the fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Han Kang-min. We are going to war, not for conquest, not for territory, but for justice. The Vectar killed millions of our people. They thought we would surrender. They thought we were weak. We will show them they were wrong." He paused, looking at the stars ahead. "The Vectar showed us what war means. Now we show them what it costs. All ships, jump to hyperspace. Target, Vectar border system Karveth 9. The fleet vanished in flashes of light. Space twisted as they entered faster than light travel. Behind them, Earth grew quiet. The storm had been building for 6 months. Now it was about to break over the Vectar Empire with terrible force. The Vectar Third Fleet patrolled the border system of Karveth 9 with lazy confidence. 23 warships moved in standard formation. The system was quiet. Nothing ever happened here. The humans were far away, probably still hiding near their homeworld. Fleet Commander Velthos was reviewing supply reports when his sensor officer shouted, "Commander, multiple hyperspace signatures. Right on top of us." Velthos looked at his screen. Space itself was twisting. Energy readings were massive. Then they appeared. 347 human warships materialized in perfect combat formation. They were already targeting the Vectar fleet. "Raise shields. Send distress signal. All ships prepare for—" On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Lee Bora did not wait for orders. She knew what needed to be done. "All batteries," she said calmly. "Fire for effect. The human fleet opened fire as one." Thousands of weapons discharged simultaneously. Railgun slugs traveling at 10% the speed of light crossed the distance in seconds. Nuclear-tipped missiles launched in waves. Laser batteries painted targets for the kinetic weapons. The Vectar shields were designed to stop plasma weapons, energy weapons. They were not designed for solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The first Vectar cruiser took 3 railgun hits directly to its forward section. The slugs punched through the shields like they were not there. The ship exploded from the inside out. Commander Velthos watched in horror as his fleet died around him. 5 ships gone in the first 10 seconds. Human missiles were not following predictable paths. They dodged and weaved randomly. Point defense systems could not track them. When they hit, nuclear fireballs consumed entire vessels. "Return fire." "All ships return fire!" The Vectar plasma cannons fired. Bright beams lanced across space toward the human ships. Direct hits. The plasma struck human armor and shields. But the humans did not dodge. They did not retreat. They took the hits and kept firing. Lieutenant Kim Da-eun led her Reaper squadron into the battle. Her neural interface fed her information faster than normal pilots could process. She saw target solutions before they appeared on her screen. Her starfighter moved like it was part of her body. "All Reapers, attack pattern Delta. Target their command ship. Close-range strafing run." Her squadron dove toward Velthos's flagship. Point defense tried to stop them. Da-eun's fighter pulled 8 gravities in a sudden turn. Most pilots would black out. She barely noticed. Her weapons locked onto the ship's bridge section. She fired everything. Commander Velthos saw the human fighters coming. Too fast, too close. His final thought was disbelief. Then his bridge exploded. On the Indomitable, Commander Park Tae-yang monitored his experimental weapon. The graviton disruptor had never been tested in real combat. Theory said it would create a localized gravitational anomaly. Reality was about to provide proof. "Target acquired," his weapons officer reported. "Vectar Dreadnought, range 4,000 kilometers. Fire," Park ordered. The weapon discharged. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space around the Vectar ship twisted. Gravity went wrong. The Dreadnought's hull began to stretch and tear. Metal groaned. Internal structures collapsed. The ship was being pulled apart at the molecular level. In 5 seconds, it was debris. Park checked his readings. The weapon had worked. It had also generated dangerous energy spikes in the Indomitable's power core. Acceptable risk, he decided. Physics did not care about safety margins. The Vectar Third Fleet tried to retreat. 3 ships managed to turn away and activate their hyperspace drives. Human missiles intercepted 2 of them before they could jump. The third escaped badly damaged. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 22 Vectar ships were destroyed. 1 had escaped. The human fleet had lost no ships. 17 were damaged, but all remained combat capable. Admiral Han Kang-min watched the tactical display update. "Clean sweep. Minimal losses. Exactly as planned. Any surrender signals?" he asked. "Several, Admiral. 3 ships transmitted surrender codes before they were destroyed. 4 escape pods launched from damaged vessels." "Destroy the pods," Han said without emotion. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo looked up from his console. "Admiral, those are survivors, non-combatants." Han turned to face him. His eyes were cold. "Doctor, the Vectar gave no mercy to our civilians. I will give them none in return." "Destroy the pods," Choi said nothing more. He watched as the missiles launched. 4 escape pods became 4 expanding clouds of debris. He made a note in his journal. "We are crossing lines we cannot uncross." Admiral Han activated Dr. Choi's psychological warfare protocols. On every frequency, human voices began broadcasting. They read names. 7.3 million names. Every civilian killed in the Vectar attacks. The broadcast continued for hours. Name after name after name. Then came a single message in the Vectar language. "You did this. You will pay for every single one." The human fleet did not occupy the system. They destroyed the orbital stations, the military bases, the communication arrays, everything that could support Vectar military operations. Then they jumped to the next system. Ambassador Yoon Sora watched from the observation deck. She had insisted on joining the fleet. Someone needed to document what was happening. Someone needed to remember the cost. She had seen the battle, the efficiency, the brutality, humanity fighting without mercy or hesitation. This was not the species she had represented for 30 years. Or perhaps it was. Perhaps this had always been inside them, waiting for the right trigger. Are we liberating the galaxy? She whispered to herself. Or becoming its nightmare? Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread fast. The surviving Vectar ship had transmitted combat footage before it died. Every species with long-range sensors had been watching. Council Speaker Miressa of the Talvan Confederacy called an emergency session. The council chamber filled quickly. Representatives from a dozen species gathered to watch the recording. They watched human ships take direct hits and continue fighting. They watched missiles that moved unpredictably. They watched a gravitational weapon tear a dreadnought into pieces. Most disturbing of all, they watched humanity refuse to accept surrender. This is not war as we know it, Miressa said quietly. This is extermination. The humans are not fighting to conquer. They are fighting to destroy. A military analyst from the Talvan fleet spoke up. Honorable Speaker, their doctrine is completely alien to us. We fight for territory. We fight for resources. We accept surrender when the enemy is defeated. Humanity fights to eliminate the threat permanently. They will not stop until the Vectar cannot threaten anyone ever again. Then we must stop them, another representative said, before they become a threat to all of us. Miressa considered this. Send fleets to fight humanity? After watching what they did to the Vectar? No, that would be suicide. Instead, she began drafting a message. A plea for humanity to show restraint. To remember mercy. She doubted they would listen. The humans had a saying she had learned. An eye for an eye, justice through vengeance. The Vectar had taken human lives. Now humanity would take everything from the Vectar in return. And the galaxy could only watch in horror as the Deathworlders showed everyone what total war truly meant. 3 months. 12 systems. The human fleet moved through Vectar space like a surgical knife. Each system fell the same way. Jump in. Destroy the defending fleet. Eliminate military infrastructure. Jump out, no occupation. No mercy. No negotiations. Supreme Commander Thelvak stood in the war room on the Vectar homeworld. Holographic displays showed the devastation. Red marks indicated destroyed fleets. 12 red marks. Gray zones showed systems cut off from communication. More than half of Vectar territory was now dark. How many ships have we lost? He asked quietly. 147 major vessels, Commander. 312 support craft. 15 orbital fortresses. The humans have lost 11 ships. The officer's voice shook. 11 in 3 months. Thelvak closed his eyes. The Vectar Empire had dominated this region of space for 400 years. They had never lost a war. Never even come close. Now they were being systematically dismantled by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Send another peace proposal to Earth, he ordered. Offer them anything, territory, reparations. We will surrender war criminals for trial. Anything to make this stop. The message was sent. Like all the others, it received no response. Admiral Han Kang-min did not even read them anymore. He had one mission: complete destruction of Vectar military capability. Nothing else mattered. Captain Lee Bora commanded the Indomitable through another engagement. The Vectar had tried something new. They had hidden ships behind an asteroid field, planning an ambush. Human sensors detected them immediately. The gravitational signatures gave them away. Target the asteroids, Bora ordered. Full railgun barrage. The human fleet turned the asteroids into weapons. Railgun strikes shattered them into millions of high-speed fragments. The debris cloud tore through the hidden Vectar ships like shotgun pellets through paper. The ambush became a massacre. After the battle, Bora's communications officer reported a contact. Captain, we have a civilian transport requesting safe passage. They say they are evacuating non-combatants from the system. Bora checked the scanner. It was a transport, old, slow. The readings showed it was fully loaded. Women and children most likely, fleeing the war zone. By the rules of engagement, any Vectar vessel could be targeted. Infrastructure, military, civilian. all valid targets until the Empire surrendered unconditionally. She hesitated. Her finger hovered over the weapon's authorization. Behind her, Admiral Han's voice came through on a private channel. "Captain, remember New Sol?" Bora remembered. She had watched her colony burn, had seen the ships carrying refugees destroyed. The Vectar had shown no mercy then. "Weapons," she said. "Fire." The transport exploded. Bora did not watch. She turned to her next target. But later, alone in her quarters, she looked at her hands and wondered if they would ever be clean again. Lieutenant Kim Da-eun's neural interface was degrading. The doctors had warned her this would happen. The human brain was not designed to process information at the speeds the interface demanded. Every day she felt a little less human, a little more machine. Her emotions were flattening. Joy, fear, anger all felt distant. Only one feeling remained sharp: the satisfaction of completing a mission, destroying a target, winning. She led her Reaper squadron through another sortie. They destroyed 6 Vectar interceptors without loss. Perfect execution. Perfect tactics. When she returned to the Indomitable, she wrote in her journal, "Today was good. 9 kills. Tomorrow will be better." The words were simple, mechanical. She read them back and felt nothing. Somewhere inside, a small part of her screamed, but the interface suppressed it. Emotions were inefficient. They interfered with combat performance. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo documented everything. He interviewed crew members between battles. Most were satisfied with the campaign. Justice was being served. The Vectar were paying for their crimes, but some showed cracks. One gunner refused to fire on a damaged Vectar ship. The vessel was clearly disabled, drifting without power. The gunner said it violated the rules of honorable combat. He was removed from his post and reassigned to logistics. Choi wrote in his report, "We are winning, but the cost is not measured in ships or casualties. We are losing something else. Our compassion, our mercy, the qualities that make us human. I fear we will wake up one day and realize we have become what we are fighting against." War scholar Krentok had finally gained access to Earth's historical databases. What he found terrified him. He read about the world wars, conflicts where millions died. He learned about nuclear weapons, bombs that could destroy entire cities in seconds. He discovered concepts like mutually assured destruction, the willingness to die if it meant your enemy died too. Most species fought to gain something: territory, resources, power. Humanity fought to survive, and when survival was threatened, they would do anything, use any weapon, cross any line, accept any cost. Krentok recorded a message for the Vectar archives. "We thought we were facing a military. We were wrong. We are facing evolution's apex predator. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They did not just survive. They conquered. They learned to fight everything: weather, disease, predators, each other. When you attack such a species, you do not face soldiers. You face millions of years of evolution screaming at them to destroy the threat." He paused, then added one final line. "We should have listened when they said no. That was our last chance for mercy." The Galactic Council met an emergency session. Council Speaker Miressa had called representatives from every major species. The chamber was full. On the main screen, footage of human operations played on repeat. "We must take action," a representative from the Corvin Unity declared. "Humanity is violating all conventions of warfare. They refuse surrender. They target civilian infrastructure. They must be stopped." Miressa studied the speaker. "And how do you propose we stop them?" "With fleets? We have all seen what happened to the Vectar armadas. With sanctions, humanity does not trade with us anymore. With diplomatic pressure, they ignore our messages." Earth's ambassador appeared via faster-than-light communication. Ambassador Yoon Sora looked tired, old. The war was aging her rapidly. "Honorable Council," she said, "humanity understands your concerns. But let me ask you a question. If the Vectar had glassed your worlds, killed your families, destroyed your colonies, would you stop at negotiations? Would you trust peace treaties? Or would you ensure they could never threaten you again?" The chamber fell silent. No one had an answer. Because deep down they all knew the truth. If their species had suffered what humanity suffered, they would want vengeance too. They just lacked the strength to take it. "We will finish what the Vectar started," Yoon continued. "And when it is done, we will welcome any investigation into our conduct. But not before. Sanctions against us if you wish. but do so after we have ensured the Vectar can never commit genocide again." She disconnected. The council sat in stunned silence. They had no good options. Wait and watch. Hope humanity stopped before going too far. Pray they never gave humanity a reason to turn those terrible weapons in their direction. On the Vectar homeworld, Supreme Commander Thelvak prepared for the final battle. The humans were coming. Every intelligence report confirmed it. The Retribution fleet was moving through the last defensive systems. Nothing was stopping them. He gathered every remaining ship, every defense platform, every weapon. They would make humanity pay for this final assault. Even if the Vectar Empire fell, they would hurt the humans. Make them bleed. Show them that pride still remained. Thelvak recorded a final message. To whoever finds this, we did not understand what we were fighting. We thought humanity was weak because they seemed peaceful. We were fools. Peace was their choice. War was their nature. We forced them to choose war. May the galaxy learn from our mistake. Never wake the predators from their sleep. The human fleet jumped into the Vectar home system 3 days later. The final battle was about to begin. The Vectar home system was a fortress. 63 warships surrounded the planet in defensive formation. 18 orbital weapons platforms bristled with cannons. Ground-based siege weapons pointed at the sky, ready to fire on any ship that came close. Every defense the Empire could muster was concentrated here. When the human fleet emerged from hyperspace, every sensor in the galaxy was watching. Neutral observation platforms recorded everything. This battle would define humanity's place in the cosmic order. Would they be liberators or monsters? Admiral Han Kong-min stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. His face showed no emotion. Around him, officers prepared for combat. This was the moment 3 months of warfare had built toward. The final battle. All ships advance, he ordered. Weapons free. The Vectar fired first. 63 ships and 18 platforms opened up simultaneously. The space between the fleets lit up with energy beams and missiles. It was the most coordinated attack the Vectar had ever mounted. They were fighting for survival now. Fighting with desperation. The human fleet took casualties immediately. 3 destroyers were destroyed in the opening salvo. 5 more were heavily damaged. But the fleet did not slow down. They pushed forward, shields absorbing hits, armor plates melting under sustained fire. Captain Lee Bora coordinated the Indomitable's defensive systems. Redirect power from secondary systems to forward shields. All railguns target the platforms. Missiles focus on their capital ships. A Vectar cruiser broke formation and accelerated directly toward the Indomitable. Bora realized what was happening too late. It was a kamikaze attack. The cruiser's reactor was overloading. It was going to ram them. Brace for impact, she shouted. The Vectar cruiser struck the Indomitable's port side. The explosion tore through 3 decks. Atmosphere vented into space. Alarms screamed. Bora grabbed her console as the ship shook violently. Around her, crew members were thrown from their stations. Fire suppression systems activated. Damage report, she demanded. Hull breach on decks 14 through 16. Casualties heavy. Weapons systems still operational. Engines at 70%. Bora wiped blood from her forehead. Maintain fire control. Do not stop firing. Lieutenant Kim Da-yoon's Reaper squadron was hunting the orbital platforms. Her neural interface processed target data faster than the platforms could track her. She dove between their firing arcs, launching missiles at point-blank range. 2 platforms exploded. But the defense network was learning. They began firing in patterns, creating overlapping kill zones. One of her pilots took a direct hit. The starfighter exploded instantly. Diane felt nothing. The interface suppressed her emotional response. She adjusted tactics and continued the attack. 3 more platforms went down, then she saw it, a ground-based siege weapon charging. It was massive. 1 shot from that cannon could cripple the Indomitable. The weapon was protected by shields, too strong for her missiles. But Da-eun's interface calculated an option. A suicide run, maximum speed collision. The impact might breach the shields. She calculated her survival chances. 0%. The G-forces would kill her before impact. Even with the neural enhancements, her body could not withstand it. For the first time in weeks, Da-yoon felt something break through the interface's suppression. Fear. But also something else. Purpose. She had become a weapon. Maybe it was time to accept what she was. Reaper 1 to Indomitable. Guns free. Target painted. She pushed her engines to maximum. The acceleration crushed her into her seat. Blood vessels burst in her eyes. Her vision went red, but she held the course. The targeting computer locked on. 4 seconds to impact. 3, 2. Her last thought was simple. I feel human again. The starfighter struck the siege weapon at full velocity. The explosion lit up the planet's surface. When the smoke cleared, the weapon was gone. So was Lieutenant Kim Da-yoon. The battle raged for 14 hours, the longest engagement of the war. Human ships took heavy damage. 73 vessels were destroyed or crippled beyond repair. But the Vector defense network collapsed piece by piece. Their ships were destroyed. Their platforms were neutralized. Their siege weapons went silent. When the fighting ended, Admiral Han Kang-min stood amid the wreckage of his bridge. Commander Park Tae-yang's weapons had performed beyond specifications. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo had watched good people die. Captain Lee Bora had kept the indomitable fighting despite catastrophic damage. The victory was complete. But it had cost them. Han opened a channel to the planet below. His transmission reached every screen, every speaker, every device on the Vector homeworld. This is Admiral Han Kang-min of the United Earth Defense Fleet. Your military has been defeated. Your empire is broken. But this war can end now. Evacuate your civilians. You have 72 hours. All civilian zones will be protected. But every military installation, every weapons factory, every government war facility will be destroyed. He paused, staring at the planet below. Somewhere down there were families, children, people who had nothing to do with the decision to attack humanity. Could he kill them? Should he? Dr. Choi Hyun-woo appeared beside him. Admiral, are we really going to glass them, like they did to us? Han looked at him. No, Doctor. We are going to dismantle their ability to make war. Every piece of their military, every weapon, every ship. They will never be able to threaten anyone again. But we will not murder civilians. That is not justice. That is revenge. And if they rebuild, if they attack us again in 50 years, then we come back. And we remind them, again and again if necessary. But I will not become what they are. I will not kill children because their government made bad decisions. War scholar Krentok was broadcasting from a bunker deep underground. He had uploaded his complete analysis to the Galactic Network. His final message went out live. To all species watching this, learn from the Vector mistake. We thought ourselves the apex. We were wrong. Humanity evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They did not develop weapons. They developed adaptation. Every challenge made them stronger. They are what evolution creates when survival is the only option. The evacuation began. Humans assisted. Transports moved civilians to safe zones. Over 3 days, the planet's urban centers emptied. Then the surgical strikes began. Weapons factories exploded. Naval academies were reduced to rubble. Government war bunkers collapsed. But hospitals stood. Schools were untouched. Civilian districts remained intact. Ambassador Yoon Sora watched from orbit. She finally understood the strategy. Break the Empire's ability to wage war while preserving moral authority. Show strength without becoming monsters. It was a narrow path, but humanity was walking it. Supreme Commander Thelvok broadcast from the capital. He stood in ruins, his uniform torn and dirty. Behind him, his empire burned. But only the military parts. The civilian city still stood. Humanity of Earth, the Vector Empire surrenders unconditionally. We accept all terms. We understand now what you are. We understand what we awakened. We will never threaten you again. We will never threaten anyone again. His voice broke. The proud commander was defeated completely. Not just militarily, spiritually. We will remember. We will always remember. Admiral Han Kang-min's response was broadcast across the galaxy. Your surrender is accepted. Your empire is ended. Your species will survive. You will rebuild. But you will remember that humanity does not forgive easily. We do not forget, and we never stop coming. The transmission ended. The war was over. Humanity had won. But the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The Deathworlders had shown everyone what they were capable of. Not monsters. Not saviors. Something in between. Something that fought only when forced. But when they fought to win. A new age had begun. And humanity stood at its center, powerful and terrible and impossible to ignore.